The email arrived at exactly 8:03 a.m. 32 words. That was all it took to destroy 5 years of loyalty. Sophia Carter stared at the screen as employees rushed through the glass corridors outside her office. Your position has been terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. No warning, no meeting, no explanation. Just a corporate execution disguised as an email. Her hands trembled, not because she was scared, because she knew something wasn't right. Only yesterday, she had finalized the biggest acquisition in company history, a deal worth nearly $300 million. The board had congratulated her. Investors had praised her. Now she was being thrown out like trash. The office door opened. 2 security guards stepped inside. Behind them stood CEO Richard Hale. His expensive suit looked flawless. His smile looked rehearsed. "Pack your things," he said coldly. Sophia slowly stood. "Why?" "You know exactly why." "No, Richard. I don't." He folded his arms. "The board believes you leaked confidential information." The accusation hit like a bullet. "What?" "You heard me." "That's insane." "Save it." Sophia looked directly into his eyes. For years she had worked beside him. For years she had helped build the company from a struggling startup into a billion-dollar empire. Now he wouldn't even look guilty. He looked satisfied. That terrified her more. "Who accused me?" she asked. "The evidence speaks for itself." "What evidence?" Richard smiled. "You don't need to worry about that anymore." Something about that sentence felt wrong. Very wrong. Sophia suddenly realized this wasn't about leaked information. This was planned. Every detail, every accusation, every witness. She had been set up. The guards moved closer. Employees gathered outside the office walls, watching, whispering, judging. Nobody defended her. Nobody dared. Richard knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just firing her. He was humiliating her, destroying her reputation so completely that no company would ever hire her again. Sophia quietly placed her company badge on the desk. Then she looked at him. "You better pray I don't discover the truth." Richard laughed. "The truth won't help you." She left without another word. The elevator doors closed. The humiliation burned inside her chest. But beneath the pain, something darker was growing. Suspicion, determination, and revenge. 3 weeks later, Sophia sat inside her tiny apartment, surrounded by documents. Thousands of pages. Financial records. Emails. Meeting transcripts. Contracts. She had spent every waking hour investigating. At first, she found nothing. Then she found everything. The evidence wasn't hidden. It was buried, deep inside company records. Richard Hale had been stealing money. Millions. Over several years. Shell companies. Fake consulting agreements. Inflated invoices. The scheme was brilliant. Almost impossible to detect. Almost. Sophia discovered one mistake. One transaction. A payment that shouldn't exist. A payment connected directly to Richard. The moment she saw it, everything made sense. He hadn't fired her because she leaked information. He fired her because she was about to uncover his crimes. And now she had proof. Enough proof to destroy him. But there was a problem. Richard controlled the board, the executives, the legal department. If she simply handed over the evidence, it would disappear. She needed something bigger, something impossible to bury. Then an unexpected opportunity appeared. A private investment group contacted her. At first, she thought it was a prank. It wasn't. The group had been quietly buying company shares for months. They knew about Richard. They suspected corruption, and they wanted Sophia's help. After several meetings, they made an offer. An offer so shocking she thought she had misunderstood. Together, they could acquire controlling interest in the company. Sophia stared at the contract. The company that fired her. The company that humiliated her. The company that destroyed her career. They were offering her a path back in. Not as an employee, as an owner. She signed immediately. Over the next 4 months, everything happened in secret. Shares changed hands. Investors shifted alliances. Board members sold positions. Nobody noticed. Nobody suspected. Least of all Richard Hale. He continued enjoying his power, giving interviews, celebrating profits, pretending he was untouchable. Meanwhile, the trap was closing, one piece at a time. Then came the annual board meeting, the most important meeting of the year. Executives filled the massive conference room. Investors joined through video calls. Lawyers sat near the walls. Richard stood confidently at the head of the table. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "this has been our most successful year." Applause echoed. He smiled proudly. Then the doors opened. The room fell silent. Richard's smile disappeared. Sophia Carter walked inside. Every face turned toward her. Shock spread across the room. Some executives nearly stood from their chairs. Others whispered nervously. Richard looked like he had seen a ghost. "You can't be here," he snapped. Sophia smiled. "Actually, I can." She continued walking. Slowly, calmly, confidently. The same boardroom. The same people. The same company. But everything had changed. Richard pointed toward security. "Remove her." Nobody moved. His face tightened. "Did you hear me?" Still nobody moved. Then one of the attorneys cleared his throat. "Mr. Hale." Richard turned. The attorney slid a document across the table. "You may want to read this." Richard looked down. His face lost all color. The room watched in silence. Sophia pulled out a chair and sat down, directly across from him. "Problem?" she asked. Richard's hands shook. "Impossible." He was actually shaking. The attorney spoke again. "Effective this morning, Ms. Carter represents the majority shareholders." The room exploded. Executives began shouting. Board members argued. Investors demanded explanations. Richard stared at Sophia in disbelief. "No. Yes. No. Yes." His voice cracked. "You can't do this." Sophia leaned forward. "Looks like I just did." The room slowly quieted. Richard looked trapped. For the first time in years, he looked afraid. Sophia enjoyed every second. "You fired me," she said. "You humiliated me. You destroyed my reputation." Richard remained silent. "But that's not why I'm here." A large screen behind her suddenly illuminated. Documents appeared. Financial records. Bank transfers. Corporate accounts. The room instantly became silent again. "What is this?" one board member asked. Sophia stood. "This is theft." Slide after slide appeared. Evidence. Proof. Transactions. Signatures. Names. Dates. Millions of dollars. Every secret Richard believed was hidden appeared before everyone. His breathing became heavy. The executives looked horrified. Investors stared at the screen. Lawyers exchanged nervous glances. The evidence was overwhelming. Sophia continued. "For years, Richard Hale has stolen company funds through shell corporations under his control." Richard slammed his hand on the table. "That's a lie." Sophia clicked another slide. A signed authorization appeared. His signature. Perfectly visible. The room gasped. Richard's face turned pale. Sophia clicked again. Another document. Another transfer. Another signature. Again. 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 Every escape route vanished. Every excuse collapsed. Every lie died. Richard realized it. Everyone realized it. The CEO who had ruled through fear was finished. One board member stood. "Is this authentic?" The lead attorney nodded. "We have verified everything." Another board member looked sick. "How much?" Sophia answered. $47 million. The number struck the room like thunder. Several executives covered their mouths. Others stared at Richard in disgust. He had stolen nearly $50 million from the very company he claimed to protect. Richard suddenly stood. "This is political." Nobody responded. "It's fabricated." Nobody responded. "You're all making a mistake." Still nobody responded. Because everyone knew. He was guilty. The evidence was undeniable. Sophia slowly approached him. "You remember what you told me?" Richard looked away. She stepped closer. "You said the truth wouldn't help me." His jaw tightened. Sophia smiled. "You were right." She paused. "The truth didn't help me." The room remained silent. "It destroyed you." The board immediately called for an emergency vote. The result was unanimous. Richard Hale was removed as CEO, effective immediately. But it didn't end there. Federal investigators entered the building less than an hour later. Someone had already received copies of the evidence. Richard tried to leave. Agents stopped him. The entire executive floor watched as the man who once controlled everything was escorted through the same hallways where Sophia had been humiliated months earlier. Only this time nobody looked away. Nobody whispered. Nobody pitied him. They watched openly. The king had fallen. Richard turned once before entering the elevator. His eyes found Sophia, filled with hatred, filled with defeat. The elevator doors closed, and he disappeared. The boardroom erupted into conversation. Executives spoke nervously. Investors celebrated. Lawyers rushed through paperwork. But Sophia sat quietly, watching, thinking, feeling something unexpected. Relief. Not victory. Relief. For months, revenge had consumed her. Now it was over. The wait was finally gone. A board member approached. Congratulations. Sophia smiled politely. Thank you. You know what comes next? She nodded. The board had already made its decision. There was only one logical choice. One person who understood the company. One person who had proven loyalty. One person who had saved the organization from disaster. Hours later, the announcement became public. Markets reacted instantly. Investors celebrated. Shares surged. Financial networks covered the story nonstop. Headlines spread across the world. The woman fired in disgrace had returned as the new CEO. The story sounded unbelievable. Yet every word was true. 6 months later, the company reached record profits. Employee satisfaction increased dramatically. Corruption investigations recovered millions of dollars. New investments poured in. Trust returned. The company became stronger than ever. One evening, Sophia stood alone inside her office overlooking the city. The same office Richard once occupied. The same view. The same skyline. But a completely different future. Her phone buzzed. A news notification appeared. Richard Hale had accepted a plea agreement. Several years in prison. Millions in financial penalties. His empire was officially gone. Sophia looked out the window. The city lights stretched endlessly into the darkness. She remembered the day security escorted her out. The humiliation. The whispers. The shame. Back then, everyone believed her story was over. They thought she was defeated. Finished. Forgotten. They never understood something important. The most dangerous person in any room is not the one with power. It is the one who has nothing left to lose. Richard learned that lesson too late. He tried to destroy her career. Instead, he built her comeback. He tried to humiliate her. Instead, he exposed himself. He tried to remove her from the boardroom forever. Instead, he handed her the keys to the entire company. Sophia smiled as she turned off the office lights. The boardroom behind her sat silent. Empty. Peaceful. But if those walls could speak, they would tell the story of a CEO who believed power made him untouchable, and the woman he fired, humiliated, and underestimated. The woman who came back and destroyed everything he had built.